How sweet the name of Jesus sound in all believers. He suits his going to a land where milk and honey flow. We are not divided on one body. Singing, we are not divided on one body. One eternity. For we are going to a land where milk and honey flow. Singing, we are not divided on one body. Singing, we are not divided on one body. You know your device and be been say come alive. See you know your device and be been say come alive. Zion, you know your device and be been say come alive. You know your device and be been say come alive.
All right. Wow. Welcome back to the show. That was just a taste of the Jamaica Revival Conference. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right. Now, this next segment is all about healing from the impact of absent fathers, focusing on self-esteem, relationships, and personal growth. Author, President, and CEO of the Cake Therapy Foundation, Dr. Altricia Foster, is here to talk about her new book and share her experiences to help others break generational cycles of pain. Welcome to Sunrise.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I was saying to you in the break how I'm so intrigued by this book because, you know, we always hear about lessons I learned from my father or from my mother. And your book takes a slightly different approach to say lessons I never learned.
Yes.
And how that helped you along. Talk about the inspiration about this book and why you're telling this story now.
That's a good question. I'm telling this story. The inspiration behind my book came from my niece, just a conversation at the table with her. And I realized that I wrote a book 2 years ago when I talked about cake therapy and how it actually changed my life. But then I still had secrets, right? Nobody wanted to put their business out there. But then I spoke extensively about my father and his absence. And I was having a conversation with my niece about her father. And he's there, but, you know, growing pains as a teenager. And I realized then that I've been in her life, but I truly haven't dissected my own pain and the lessons that I didn't learn. My father wasn't around. So just to emphasize to her, like, your dad's here. Like, you know, he's here, mine wasn't. But then to highlight what are some of the positive things that I learned while my father was not here. Because I felt like my silence was really an issue, and I just needed to step out of that.
You know, as I listen, of course, I hear that you've been shaped by the lack of
absolutely
of these experiences. Were there some things, or are there some things that you needed to unlearn or still unlearning as you speak and share?
Of course, the thing I needed to unlearn was that my destiny wasn't tied to anybody who actually left. And for years I sat in that silence, and I was shrinking because my social my social development told me that I needed a mother and a father in my life. You know, I was a champion girl. Most of my classmates had their parents, both parents in their life, and I just had my little mom, my big mom, Big Lorna, right? So I didn't need to shrink. So I needed to unlearn the fact that my destiny wasn't tied to that, and the fact that my father did not love me, you know, didn't mean that I was unlovable. So those are the things that I needed to be intentional about dissecting, you know, and deconstructing.
I love that you have written this book and in the way that you have, because there are so many people who are in families that look different.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not just mom and dad anymore. It is very different. And I'm sure that you're hoping that this book will resonate with readers who are in that position.
Yeah.
What are you hoping is the big takeaway for people who have experienced that emotional abandonment from a parent?
Yeah, that I think that as long as your healing process is authentic, it's real enough. You know, take your time to work through that on your own. And in my book, I preface each chapter with a journal entry, because I journal a lot. And I am teaching and encouraging people to write their thoughts out. And I'm here sharing mine with you. Like, what was I thinking in 2001, you know, for all intents and purpose. And here's what I learned from that now. So I'm hoping that as long as your healing journey is authentic and real, it doesn't have to look like Tami's, it doesn't have to look like Itis, it doesn't have to look like mine. Just do it your own way, you know.
You know, as a father myself,
Yes.
of daughters, I'm intrigued by the idea of this book personally. But I want to ask though, what is it that you think, or what was it, or where did you find the most difficulty when you were writing, in the writing process, where you said, this, should I say this, or should I not say this, or am I going to go here, or, you know, what was there a moment for you like that?
Of course, there are a lot of moments like that, because like when you're telling your own story, you have to tell it with care, right? I have kids myself. I remember my partner and my husband, I talked about my first book where he kept it from my kids, and I said to him, like, no, just let her read it, because my daughter was saying, oh, mommy, there's so much sadness in this, but then there's so much truth. And when I got to issues around my own personal self-worth, I had to really take a step back, because I'm a hard nut to crack. I'm unforgiving. I don't take any foolishness from anybody. My independence, though, you know, came at a price, and I am like an overachiever, a constant overachiever, just trying to find a place where everyone is saying, oh, pat Trisha on the back. So I think those are some of the things that were really hard for me to realize and lean into.
Wow, I'm intrigued by this book. I really would love for everybody to get their hands on this. How can we get this book?
They can find this book on Amazon right now, and in another week or so, it should be on Barnes & Noble.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here. Is there anywhere online we could visit as well, like to learn more about you and what you do?
Oh my goodness, there's so much. I lead a foundation, the Cake Therapy Foundation, so you could find us at thecaketherapyfoundation.org. You can find everything about me at altriciafoster.com. Oh, and I bake too, so you can find me at sugarspoondesserts.com. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for sharing it.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
You didn't share where I can find that eyewear that you're wearing.
Or the shoes. Hello, the shoes.
I'll tell you offline.
You should add this to your whole, what you call it, resume. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Of course, thank you.
All right, our guest in this morning's Parents Happy Hour has been Dr. Altricia Foster, author, president, and CEO of Cake Therapy Foundation. TK is coming up next with the morning news while I figure out where to get these shoes.
I like that. That rhymed.
Thank you.